Okay, let's look at the Great Pyramids. And um, they differ from the stepped pyramids because now if we jump ahead here to the cross section, we see that now the chapels for rituals and the rooms for the grave goods are moved into the pyramid themselves. The pyramids are seen as the place where the kings are reborn in the afterlife. The angled sides, again, each side aligning with one of the cardinal directions. They also may have represented the slanting rays of the sun. And the inscriptions on the walls tell of the king climbing the sun rays to join the god Ra, the sun god, Ra. They are also, like their predecessors, include different fake passageways, dead ends, to all keep thieves away from the graves and from all of these sumptuous goods. The largest of the Great Pyramids, and here we're seeing the complex as it originally was. So we have the three main pyramids here. We have these smaller pyramids of the Queen that we see in the foreground of the photo. There are causeways, these paths that lead to other temples and tombs, and of course the Great Sphinx that we'll look at momentarily. They are impressive feats of engineering. This middle pyramid, the largest pyramid of Khafre, contains over 2 million stones. It is 48 stories tall. Some of the blocks weighed up to 2 tons each. The wheel was not used in construction. So how was this actually done? Well, with a lot of slave labor, literally backbreaking work. Surviving tools seem to indicate that the stones were dragged, that they used a series of lifts and levers and different pulleys to place each individual stones. And most likely there would be earthen ramps that were used along the outside of the pyramid as the structure got higher during construction. Let's take a look though. Oh, here, let me show you this photo here. So, the necropolis, these cities of the dead in ancient Egypt, they were never where people lived. They were often on the other side of the river. And of course, the modern city of Gizeh today is really bumping up against the location of the Great Pyramids. And so we see encroaching from the city. This, of course, leads to all sorts of problems with air pollution and actually is threatening the pyramids themselves. Okay, the Great Sphinx. And I believe I included a link to the Nova episode about the secrets of the Great Sphinx. You guys know I'm a fan of the PBS show Nova. This is so enigmatic. It's fascinating for us still today, thousands of years later. And I love this photo on the right because this is a photo from the late 19th century of how the Sphinx was actually buried by the process of desertification, the growth of the desert. So this Sphinx is a feline, crouching feline with the head of a human that is perched in front of the pyramid of Khafre. And the portrait seems to commemorate Khafre himself. Here's another portrait of Khafre. And so it seems like we have a lot of the same characteristics here. The portrait head itself is 65 feet tall. And the head is a different stone material than the body. So of course the question is, for all of these monumental ancient works, how was it constructed? The body seems to have been carved out of the limestone bedrock present on the site, using copper tools and stone hammers. Now, how did this work? If you know anything about metal, you think, well, copper is a really soft metal. And so copper was the best technology at the time, but of course it dulled quickly. So you would need a whole team of metalsmiths to keep your tools sharpened. Stone hammers also have the same challenges as well. They were mainly used to carve channels into the limestone and then chisel out bits in between. This is slow work. And archaeologists today estimate that with these tools, it took 40 hours to remove 1 cubic foot of stone. That's a full work week for our 40-hour work week. That means it would take 1 million person hours to carve the Sphinx. That means 100 carvers needed 3 years to complete it. This is something that is special. It was a huge investment in time and resources. So what does it mean? In the Old Kingdom, the lion is the double lion god known as Ruti, R-U-T-I, carried the sun, was a kind of guardian, and ensured the pharaoh's safe passage to the afterlife. So it's a kind of question here of whether we have a kind of Ruti and Khafre double portrait here, as Khafre would travel the path of the sun. And if we go back here, the path of the sun would move back and forth between the Great Sphinx and the Pyramid of Khafre. And so this is one possible understanding of the Great Sphinx. Let's look at this portrait of Khafre enthroned. And here we see a typical Egyptian Old Kingdom treatment of the human form. I mean, Khafre seems so square, so rigid, so durable. It seems like he transcends time. He's strong and enduring, just like the stone he is carved out of. In fact, look at this side view. It's like he's still fused to the stone itself. There's no hint of aging or mortality, no wrinkles. He is timeless. He has this kind of square jawline, big ears, this very stoic kind of frozen gaze, and he wears the traditional royal costume. And we'll see this in other Egyptian work as well. So that includes the short kilt, that skirt, the long linen headdress. Again, think about living close to the equator, how hot the sun would be. You need to cover your skin. We also see that long goatee. That was fake. The beards were always tied on, and they were a symbol of royalty. Then we see this little hawk perched above his head. This is Horus, the hawk god, who is protecting the king's head. The last work I want us to investigate here from the Old Kingdom is a relief from a mastaba, a tomb of a man named T. T, who we know from tomb inscriptions was a government official. Everyday people, the people slaving away at the pyramids, they did not receive elaborately decorated tombs. But here in T's tomb, we have the figure himself, the deceased himself, T, watching a hippopotamus hunt. T looms over the boat, this low boat here, in a twisted position. And he also is kind of, he's part of the scene, but also kind of removed, because he is in a state of immortality. We see, I love this kind of cross-section here of the water, and we see all these menacing hippos swimming around. A hippo hunt was often interpreted as symbolic for overcoming darkness and evil, for triumphing. And Seth, the god of darkness and disorder, often disguised himself as a hippo in Egyptian mythology. So I think there's two interpretations here. We can read it as T enjoying the leisure life going on a hunting trip in the hereafter, but we can also read it metaphorically, that the images of this successful hippo hunt refers to Horus, the hawk god, hunting down and killing Seth, the god of darkness. And the other element I just want you to notice here is even in this relief, in this painted relief, we see that same kind of static, stoic, unlifelike depiction of a human. Very, very stable and enduring, with the head in profile, but the body looking out at us. That's that twisted position. So multiple views of the same figure, and note the hierarchical scale here as well. All right, I'm going to end video 2 here, and then we're going to transition into the New Kingdom for the next video.